the tool that we're showing you today is called IO Analytics, and we're pretty excited about this. And I have some of my colleagues on the line as well. We've got Kim Nichols, who's one of our senior developers. We've got Nigel Oswald, who's one of the partners of IO, and we've also got Damien, who's our marketing manager. My name's Gary Fisher, and as you can probably tell, I'm based over in the UK office. So what we're going to do is do an overview of the analytics tool. If you have any questions whilst this is going on, I think that everyone is currently on mute, just to avoid any background noise. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat room and we can cover them off at the end of the demonstration. And we'll also record this as well so that you can play it back if you need to show it to colleagues or you need to have another look at it at a later date. So without further ado, I will get started. Up on the screen here, you can see we've got a PDF. This is just an overview of the tool that we're talking about today. And Damien will be able to email this over to you after the webinar, just so that you've got a reference point as well. So I'm just going to close that down. So up on my screen, you can see I've got a bog standard Xinet login into the Xinet system. And I'm just going to log in with my very secure demo password. And once I'm logged into the system, you'll see that I've got your standard Xinet interface. Now, the great thing about analytics is that it basically just, to use it, all you need to do is add a tag inside Portal. And you can see we have a tag here for the analytics button. And essentially, that's the only thing you need to have involvement with Portal, because you install we will install analytics onto your Portal box, and it runs as a standalone application. And that just basically means it's very, very easy for us to not have to be too involved with what's happening in the Xinet world. We're just making calls to the database using the APIs. So essentially, to get this working, what I should also point out first of all is that this tool has been designed for administrators of the system. The whole idea of this is that you can set up all of the reporting that you want to occur, and then that can be scheduled to be sent to whoever you need it to be sent to automatically every day, every 7 days, every month, however you want to set that up. So this is not a tool that we would recommend you make available to your customers. This is purely for administrators. Okay, so let's click onto the reporting button, and you'll see that it takes us into this nice interface here. And what I'm going to do first of all is to run through all of these widgets that you're seeing up on your screen. So before I do that, you can see we've got three tabs along the top here. We've got status reports, event reports, and asset reports. So this first one, status reports, is basically all of these widgets that we're seeing up on the screen here. Now, you can play around with this and you can design your own dashboard. So for example, if I want this to be positioned like this, then I can do that myself, just resize it however I want it. And if I close now, it will remember those settings when I relog back into the system. So you've got the options to play around with the display of these widgets on your screen here. You'd also have the ability under the View tab to turn them on and off. So if I don't want, for example, database statistics, I can just select here and I can choose to turn off that setting in here. So you can play around with those. So let's get on to the first one. The first one is volume usage. So what this does, it pulls all of the information from all of the Xinet volumes that you've got set up on your Xinet server. So essentially, if you hover above an overview of what's happening on that particular portion of the volume. So in this one here, for example, it's telling us that the path to it is volumes data demo. It was last updated on this date and time, and it's using this much data, 4.9 gig. So just a very nice quick overview. If you've got multiple volumes, obviously I'm using a demo server here, but you are highly likely to have lots of different volumes. You can also scroll through them here and turn them on and off if you want to as well. So only look at the volume that you're particularly interested in. So you have that ability in there too. So that's the volume usage. Moving across to the right here, we have the recent activity. So there's two things in here. We have the most popular downloads in the last 30 days and the last 5 assets that have been uploaded into the system. So all of this information is available to you. So for example, this image here, bottle.psd, has been downloaded 4 times in the last 30 days. And if I want more detailed information on that, I can simply click on it and it will take me to the detailed history inside MView inside Xinet. So it will take you directly to that asset, and in here you might want to look at the detailed history. So just a very quick link to get you back to that asset that you selected. The last 5 assets uploaded, again, you can click on the asset. So this one was the last asset that was uploaded. It gives you the date and time. And if you click on it, again, it will take you to the detailed history of that asset and where it is stored on the Xinet system. So this area here is pretty straightforward. It just sort of gives you some recent activity that's happened on the server. One of the most important parts, I personally think, of this tool is the search statistics area. So it's great that you can do reports. It's great that you can find out things about the assets and the users on the system. But one of the biggest things that I found when I used to work at Xinet is that people would go away and set up metadata templates and search criteria for people to use, but you've got absolutely no idea if that information you set up is relevant for your end users. So for example, in the search statistics here, I can see the search results that have happened in the last 30 days. And it's telling me there was 15 search results in the last 15 days. Obviously, in the real world, you're going to have a lot more than that. Now, the great thing about this is it tells us what the search term was. So this particular person here searched for the word tropics. They searched for it 2 times, and they got 67 results each time they searched for it. And also, quite importantly, it tells us how long in seconds it took to return that search result. So using this data, you might make some intelligent decisions around, maybe I want to index the search field of tropics because it's getting used all of the time by a lot of the users. So to speed it up, I'm going to index that particular field. So you can make some really nice intelligent decisions based off real-time data that's being populated into these search statistics. Below that, you can see we've got 0 results in the last 30 days, and there's 12 of them. So basically, this is also equally as important. This could be that you've got a customer that keeps doing a search for the word Cyprus, and they've searched for it 25 times and are not finding any results. So you may have to have a little think about that and say, actually, what I should do is go and populate Cyprus into my metadata template somewhere so that people can find what they're looking for. So you can make some really informed, intelligent decisions using real-time data on how you should go about populating your metadata fields. So there's a couple of other little options here in the search statistics. So we have this little button here to download the search history. And if we click on that, what it will do is it will download a CSV to your desktop, and you can see I'm just going to open it up here. And that actually gives you a CSV of all of the search results that you have run over that 30-day period. So in there you can mine the data and you can filter this however you want to filter it. So really useful. You can get a really quick snapshot straight to a CSV, straight to your desktop. Okay, so let's close that down. So that's the search statistics module. And just to sort of highlight, all of these little widgets here have this little option here to make them bigger. So if you click on that, it will take up the whole screen, and then you can minimize it back down if you want to just have a quick look in more detail. So the one down the bottom here, events in the last 30 days, with this nice, pretty graph that's moving around, you actually get the ability to pause that graph if you want to. And it's telling me that on May the 7th, May the 8th, May the 9th, if you hover above it, it will tell you what's happened. So along the top here is the key. So anything in this colour is files that have been copied, anything in this colour is files that have been created, downloaded as a high res, etc., etc. So if you don't want to see some of that stuff, you can turn it off here. So I don't care about the files that were copied or created. and you can just select the criteria that's important to you. And from here, if you hover above any of these, you can actually, it will tell you the count for that particular day. So on May the 9th, someone or all of your users created 647 files on the Xinet server on that particular day. And if you want a snapshot of that, you also can click on Show Totals, and that will pull up a little snapshot of everything that's happened in those last 30 days as well. So a really nice, quick, easy way to pull some very quick stats. And the last widget over here on the right is Database Statistics, and this gives you an overview of everything that's happening inside your Xinet database. Well, not also the database, but also information on users and groups and on files that are online and archived and all that type of information, which is obviously all stored in the database, but it expands that a little bit. So for example, on my demo server here, I've got 15 users, 3 groups. I've got 552 files online and 107 online folders. It's telling me how many of those have been archived, how many files have been deleted, how many queries have happened in the database, slow queries. So really quick, nice visual information that you can look at very, very quickly. So this first tab with all of the widgets simply is a quick snapshot overview of what's going on your system in the last 30 days. So it's just very quick and easy to see that. Now, moving along to the right here, we have the event reports, and this is where you can schedule, set up reports and report on things that you need to be reported on and schedule them to be delivered to whoever needs to receive them. So starting at the top here, we've got 3 tabs. We've got users, groups and volumes. So this is fantastic. You can actually report on user activity, group activity or particular volume activity, and we'll run through those in a second. We also have a quick search in here. So for example, if you didn't really want to sort of drill down to find a particular user, I might type in the word demo and it will highlight where that user is stored for me automatically. So if I want to report on the user demos activity, I can select the user here with this tick box. I can then select my date range and then I can tick what information I want to be reported on. If I go to my groups, we can do the same thing again. Again, this is a demo server, so I don't have many groups, but for example, if I go in here, I've got a production studio group, and I can just report on that particular group's activities in the last however many days. This is the bit I really like. You can actually drill right down to volume level. So not only can you do it on a particular volume, but you can actually go into the volume and you can select exactly where you want to report. So I've got a folder here called Tropics Drink Company. That might be a particular customer, and I could just select that and then report on a specific path on the file system using the volumes area. So really quite powerful. You can select on users, groups or volumes. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to select my user demo. And from here, I'm going to say, right, I want to select all of these events and maybe I want to turn just a few of them off. Maybe I don't want files created. I don't want the preview files, and I don't particularly care about any metadata that's changed. And when I do that, I can then click on Display Summary, and it gives us this nice little graph here where we can get a nice overview of all of those things. Now, the 2 other little buttons underneath that, you've got Online Only. So if I tick that and do Display Summary, it will then change the statistics because it's only reporting on files that are physically on the file server. If I untick that, it's going to report on all of the files that are in the database. So that could be files that have been archived, for example. So you've got the option there to turn that on or off. You can also include or exclude the directories in that count as well. Now, with this little graph down here, you also have the ability to get a nice little preview of what's gone on. So, for example, if you hover above any of them, it's telling me that on Monday, the April the 15th, there's been 25 files deleted off the file system. There's been 8 files downloaded. And if you click on it, it will actually give you a nice little visual preview, a little thumbnail of the files that were downloaded. This one here, for example, was downloaded 4 times today. So just a really quick snapshot. You can also, if you go to columns, you can actually turn off some of these if you don't really care about that information. So you can scroll across here. Like, for example, I don't care about the file size, so let's turn that column off and it will hide it for us. So just a really nice, quick, easy way of getting a snapshot of what happened in that particular day. So that's just a nice visual that you can look at when you're looking at the results. But obviously, what you need to do is a lot more intelligence behind that. You need to be able to manage these reports and then also be able to send them to people. Now that's all controlled through the Manage Reports button here. But before I do that, I'm going to download a copy of the report that I just created, just to show you that if you want to, you can very quickly just download and get the results of the report on the fly. And if I open that up on my desktop, you'll see that we've got this nice CSV of all of the information that we wanted, with all of the file IDs, directories, paths, file names, you know, all of the information that's relevant to those files that we just reported on. Okay, so let's now go ahead and click into, actually before I do that, let me change the date range so we get some more information. Maybe I want to report from January the 1st to May the 15th, do a display summary, and you can see that it changes on the fly. I can go into Manage Reports, and maybe I want to keep this report and use it over and over. So I'm going to say Demo, that's my report type. Activity, obviously you can do whatever you want in those fields. This is where it gets quite interesting. How do you want this report to be delivered? Do you want this to be emailed to a client? Do you want it to be sent via an FTP server, an SFTP server, over HTTP or HTTPS, or even SCP? So you might have a need to pull these stats out and feed them into another system. So you can select whatever method or protocol you want to deliver the report that suits your requirement. So for demo purposes, I'm going to stick to email. And because it's an email, we can go back and look at the language strings inside Xinet, and we can actually do it in different languages if we want to. And we've also got free.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, web events made easy.
Of course, in the manual. And then from here, you can add people that need to receive these email reports. So I'm going to say demo@xinetbooth.com, and I add that user, and that user is now going to receive these email reports. You also have the ability here to add group email. Now, these are users inside the Xinet system, and these users have obviously got an email address assigned to them. So I've got a group of users in Production Studio, and they've all got an email address assigned to them. So I can just add that group of users, and then that will send that report to all of those people as well. So you've got the ability to play around with that and add and remove people as and when you want. Moving down here, this is the interval. So I want to send that report. We've got some days of the week here. I want it to go once every Wednesday, or I want it to be the first of the month, or I want it to be every 7 days. So you specify how many days you want that to be, and how many report days back do you want to go. At the moment, I've set it to 133 because that's what I set up in my window previously. So you might want to go back for the last 30 days. So once you do that, you can then also, you've got some options down here to include summaries or details. These basically are different types of reports. So details is a detailed report, and summaries is just an overview of the activity. So for example, 8 images were downloaded in that 30 days. That will be a summary. In details, it will say 8 files were downloaded, but here are all the files that were downloaded, and it will give you more detail. So depending on what type of report you want to happen. Then if you want to click on Enable Report, that will then schedule it so that after every 9 days, it's going to kick that off automatically. And then this last little line here is just, how you want that data to be displayed. Do you want it to be in kilobytes, megabytes, or gigabytes? By default, it's on megabyte. Then you can save that report, and you can see that that's now been added into my report window at the top here. And in 9 days' time, it's going to automatically send that report for me. Now, I've already set up some reports here, and I'm going to kick them off manually just by clicking on this little button here. And you can see that that report was run successfully. Let's click on this one as well. And let's also click on this one. And let's click on this one. So I've just ran 4 reports manually by clicking on the little running man icon. And if I go to my email, and click on Get Mail, you'll see that I've received now all of those emails, and you can see they've all got an attachment. And I just want to quickly run through some of these different emails. Now, this email template, obviously you can brand this up however you want. This was the simple one where you just get a nice sort of email, very plain, and in there we get a download summary, a summary CSV. If I click on that, you'll see that it's just given us an overview of what's happened. So 9 files were copied, 25 were deleted, 1 file was renamed, etc., etc. This next report is pretty similar to the other one, and this last one here, you can see that we've actually asked them to pull out them statistics in a graph actually into the email as well. Now, these emails have all pulled the simple report, but you can also have the detailed report, which is this one I showed you earlier, where it has all the files broken down, and that can be attached to the email as well. So you can have either or you can have both sent as an email attachment, whichever you prefer to do. Okay, so that's I think that's everything covered in the reports. Obviously, there's a lot of flexibility in there. You can create as many reports as you like, and you can have them sent to as many different people as you want and schedule them automatically. The last tab along the top here is the asset reports. Now, this is where I think the IOI analytic tool is actually really quite powerful. It goes above and beyond what a reporting tool would normally do. So if I click on this, this is actually going to allow you to report on metadata, which is actually pretty fundamentally important for a lot of people. So to give you an example of that, if I click on, so it's asking where do I want to kick the report off from. So I've got a volume called server web, or do I want to be more specific and go to a specific part of that volume? I'm just going to do it from the top level. And what it's doing, it's actually pulling all of the metadata templates from the Xinet system. So I've got a metadata template called demo, and if I select that, it now displays all of the metadata values that are available to that user demo, but it also pulls out other information such as accessed, archived, created, and modified. And for example, where this might be really useful is if you go and purchase a lot of images from stock photography, and all of those images have a copyright on them. Maybe you're only allowed to use them for 6 months, and then you're not allowed to use them anymore. Or maybe that product's going to expire after 60 days, something like that. So in this example, I'm just going to say, I care about the usage end date, and I want to make sure that all of my users in the system have filled in the usage end date because I don't want to get sued for this usage, for the asset being misused. So I'm going to say anything that has a null value, so it's got no value in the metadata. If I click on display summary, it will go away and it will pull all of the assets that have got no usage end date assigned to them. And you can see that very, very quickly you can identify all of those assets. You get a nice preview of them here, and you've also got all of these fields that you can sort of filter on as well in the columns. So maybe I don't care about all this other stuff here. You can turn them on and off. So this is really powerful. This is enabling you to go and check that people are populating metadata, and it also gives you the ability to go and make sure that people aren't misusing the metadata and stuff like that. So from here, you can also do a download of that report that I just did. So you click on that and it will pull the CSV to your desktop on the keywords. And if you open that up, it gives you all of the information about the keywords that we just pulled. So it gives you the path name, the file name. So very quickly, you could give that to the studio manager and say, hey, all of these files here in these paths need to have a usage end date assigned to them before we get sued for misusing those assets. So it's really quite useful. You also, again, can manage those reports. You can schedule them. So if we click on Manage Reports, you can go in here. I've done one earlier. So I'm reporting on all files that don't have a usage end date. Click on that, and it's going to kick that off and run the report. Or, again, you can schedule that for whenever you want that report to happen. And, again, it doesn't have to be email. It can be any of those protocols that you want to select there. Just to sort of expand on that a little bit more, maybe you want to find all of the assets on the file server that are assigned to a specific account manager, for example. So is equal to, is exactly, and the account manager is, I don't know, Timo, and do a search, and it's not found any results, but you get the general idea. You can do lots of different reporting using your metadata templates. I think I'm about done. Nigel and Kim, you may want to jump in if I've missed anything there. And if anyone's got any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gary. There was a question that came up that probably I should talk a little bit about, and that is sort of where this data is coming from, which might enlighten some people as to where the reports are coming from. So, the asset reports that you see there, they're coming from Xinet's keyword fields directly. The event reports, we have some custom SQL triggers going on to keep our own version of Xinet's event data, and then we're mining our database. And so some of these calls can be pretty substantial, but they're not hitting Xinet's database. We're basically keeping a mirror of Xinet's database. So I figured it was worth just explaining where some of this data here is coming from. Damien, looks like there's a few questions bouncing in there, so I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, we have one here, Nigel. People are wondering, is this product already released, or when will it be released?
Yeah, so we're on the final betas right now, just finishing up documentation. So we're expecting to be releasing in the next couple of days. Okay. So very soon.
Let me see. Oh yeah, we got quite a few questions here. In the case of a storefront running with Portal, can reports be generated based on user/items purchased?
So this is all. This application is working off of Xinet's event database. So depending on your storefront integration, as long as that storefront integration is honoring Xinet's events, which any true integration should be, then yes, you can pull off of any of those events. If you have a different storefront that's not that's kind of bypassing Xinet's event mechanisms, then you're not going to get that data. But as long as your integration involves Xinet's APIs, then all the event data should be in there, and then this will report on it correctly.
Okay, and then we have another question on price.
This product will be $5,000. Sorry, that's a short answer.
Well, to the point. So do we have any other questions that anybody has regarding what you've seen today? So it looks like that's all the questions for today. So what I'm going to do now is, as Gary mentioned at the beginning, I will be sending an email with the current data sheet for this product, as well as once I edit down this video, we'll send a video playback in case you wanted to have another look or share it with your colleagues. So we'd like to thank everybody for coming out today, and look to hear from us shortly. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.